Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the shift in the way Trump is being discussed by the right wing in Britain right now, with Kemi Badenoch slowly inching away from the orange one, Mail on Sunday presenting what at first sight looks like a very anti-Trump front page. But what does our attitude to Trump really need to be? Starmer is pushing for European leaders to do something practical instead of just talking a good game. Now, is that going to work and what will it look like? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So we've been hosting an important European Defence Summit in the UK, which has had more attendees than originally anticipated, with the way Trump has been realigning America with rather than against Russian imperialism. Even Turkey wants in on the action. And that is literally true what I've said, by the way. Russia today has said, the Russian government has said that America has aligned its foreign policy with Russia. Not just even that their foreign policies are now aligned, specifically that America has aligned its foreign policy with Russia's. In other words, Russia is openly saying that America is Russia's bitch. Right? There's been no kickback on that from America, from the White House. They haven't said, no, we're doing our own thing. It just happens to be a little bit aligned. Nothing. They're never, notice that, they're never contradicting the Kremlin. So the question is, in Europe, what is the action we need to take? The political dynamics are very different in different European countries, but we essentially need to act in concert, at least amongst the ones who are going to do anything. I mean, yes, we can afford to leave out some players. We can afford to leave out the Russian vassal states like Hungary and Slovakia. They're small enough to ignore, thank goodness. We'd be in a bit of a mess if one of the major powers had a pro-Putin government. But even Maloney has reevaluated a few things since coming to power. Indeed, whenever the EU collectively involves itself in defence, it's always what's described as a coalition of the willing anyway, a phrase Starmer's used today. The EU is not a military organisation, doesn't need to get everyone involved to agree on defence issues to help out. Where Hungary could be a problem is where funds are needed, as those sort of issues can be vetoed. But the EU have collectively kicked Orban in the bollocks for frustrating their otherwise collective intentions before, and they can do so again. The worst he can do is delay action. In the UK, there's been a subtle little shift, quite a useful one. Kemi Badenoch, who was trying to align with Trump on everything a few weeks ago, has been moving. She first broke ranks in denouncing the characterization of Zelenskyy as a dictator. Today, she expressed alarm at the way Zelenskyy was, in her words, humiliated. And she made it clear that her sympathy lay entirely with Zelenskyy himself. Now, sure, she didn't blame Trump directly. She blamed the decision to have held the meeting in front of cameras. But that was Trump's decision. Also, she said she didn't think it was a deliberate ambush. That's fine. I can express my more forthright views on both of these issues. A senior MP, government or opposition, can't and shouldn't. Doesn't actually help to throw blame around, except Putin's way. Everyone is crystal clear that, for the time being at any rate, we need America on side. So it makes no strategic sense to ramp up tensions. In fact, the diplomatic miracle that needs to take place here is to persuade Trump to completely change his mind on several things and then make him think it was his idea all along. I just have no optimism that this is going to be fruitful. I think the most influential voice in Trump's ear is Vladimir Putin. But this new position from Badenoch is quite interesting. She said that on this matter, her party is aligned with the government. Now, that is not the line Badenoch has been taking up until now. Indeed, her simple strategy has been to oppose the government for the sake of being contrary, as if that's what opposition is. This is actually a very different move from Badenoch. She's now got the confidence to say, actually, we agree with the government on this thing. And it matters not one jot that she's moulding her party's position in such a way as to avoid conflict with Trump. They're not competing for votes with Trump, but with Farage. And this draws a clear distinction between the Tories and Reform UK, something that has taken Badenoch months to achieve. Besides, even the most up-for-action European leader, Donald Tusk of Poland, accepts that they need to get America on side. He's talked about Europe becoming a superpower, not as an alternative to the US, even though everyone else is talking about that, but as its most wanted ally. I suspect a narrative that is designed to justify upscaling arms production in Europe without spooking America while it does it. Tusk suggested that all Trump wants is for Europe to take more responsibility for its security. He said it's a paradox that 500 million Europeans are asking 300 million Americans to defend them from 140 million Russians. Which is a good line. The one reasonable part of this entire fiasco from Trump's point of view is Europe can and should take more responsibility ourselves. Absolutely. Because never mind the populations that Tusk referred to, those are fairly meaningless. Civilians aren't actually fighting. As I've said before, even if you just take the EU and UK in purely economic terms, we're trying to say that if the EU and UK cannot defend itself against Russia, I mean, that's mad. As I've done before recently. So these flags are in proportion to the size of GDPs. It's a nonsense to suggest that we should need America. It costs more resources to invade them than it does to defend. So straight away, it would cost Europe less to defend than it costs Russia to attack. So given the strength of our economies, why are we so afraid of Russia? Because we haven't invested in defence. Our militaries have been allowed to get too small. We've done too little to nothing about other means with which Russia wages war. Not just the UK, Europe's done nothing to combat Russian oligarchy funding political campaigns or cyber warfare. It's been suggested again that the British government should order an urgent and much more detailed investigation into Russian interference in our politics. I think we should. But other European countries should probably do likewise. Stop burying our heads in the sand. Putin's first move is never to roll tanks across a border. It is first weakening societies and political structures, years, sometimes decades in advance of a physical attack. Russia's been working on Trump years before he even thought about going into politics. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they say. And in the UK, it would also further expose Nigel Farage, who is seriously going to suggest that a full investigation wouldn't turn up more evidence of his betrayals. Maybe Farage supporters. Because I do think the focus should be Putin. Yes, we need our leaders to recognise that Trump is not trustworthy. But it's like they can't say it out in public, so there's no point in basing any strategy on it. You know, we are at huge risk if we share vital intelligence with America now, that it ends up on Putin's desk, sure. But what really matters is action against Russia. Part of it will be reducing our dependence on America and in time, hopefully eliminating it altogether. And this is something for which there is also more settled political agreement in Britain at any rate. Reform UK aside, the major political parties of Britain are in agreement that Putin is the bad guy. There's no equivocation about that. There's also no diplomatic downside in saying so for anyone. Might this even help Badenoch follow the SNP and Labour in attacking Farage at last? Or will she just be too scared to do even that? Because even the Mail on Sunday is implying support for snubbing Trump today. Now, I don't think this is feasible. It also won't help. It's definitely not what Zelenskyy wants. It doesn't help him. He has made clear he needs America on side. That means he wants the rest of us to spare no diplomatic avenue in doing so. So Zelenskyy himself would not want us thumbing our noses up at Trump, because that would be a betrayal of Ukraine and general European security. But interesting that a Tory shit rag can now bring itself to effectively amplify the idea that Trump is unpopular. Mind you, I wouldn't put it past them that they're only doing it to try and create a diplomatic row. Starmer himself at the summit is taking the line that those European countries willing to do something need to do more than just make friendly statements about Ukraine and Zelenskyy. They need to boost their own defence budgets. This will not only help get Trump on side, which they all agree is essential in the short term, but also avoid the same catastrophic situation occurring in the future. May not be easy. It's not proven easy even for the UK government to do this when there's a lot of public support. But it is vital. When everyone else in Europe was tweeting their support for Zelenskyy after he left the White House on Friday, Starmer was on the phone to both Zelenskyy and Trump trying to get the meeting back on. That's his attitude. Practical action, not warm words. You might almost say it's the geopolitical equivalent of his phrase at the Labour conference a few years ago. Party of protest or party of power? Same thing on the world stage. Do governments want to protest the behaviour of Trump or Putin, whatever, or do they want to give their own countries the power to take the destiny into their own hands? Because you can't prioritise both, it's one or the other. Doing something or just complaining that others should do things differently. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.